Hey everybody. Alright, so this is that little 400 that I pulled out of that 55 Chevy pickup that I would like to put into the GMC. Obviously I started taking it apart already, but I did run across this so far. There's a crack right there. In the right lighting you can actually see maybe you can see it there a little bit, the tooth of the chain in there. And then of course there's another one right here. So yeah, that's part of that valve train issue for sure. We do have some loose rocker arms as well. So I'm going to go ahead and keep tearing this thing apart, see what we find. Kind of wanted to put it in as is, but the guy I got it from told me, even though when I listened to it initially, it was rough when it first started, but then it kind of cleared out and I really didn't hear anything. Didn't have any smoke. I mean, when it first started, a little bit of smoke, but not bad. I didn't hear any knocking on the bottom end, just a little rough, and like I said, it kind of cleared out. But yeah, the guy said probably needs a cam and lifters and all that stuff, he said, because it does have a tappet noise. So again, I didn't hear it at the time, but obviously it does have valve train issues. So I think I'm just going to try to get away with, if I can, timing chain, cam swap, new oil pump like I had mentioned I believe previously, and go from there, because like I said, it didn't really smoke, and it didn't have any knocking or any banging or any noise like that. So I may, while it's this far apart, look at the bearings, or maybe even just replace the main and rod bearings while I'm in there. I haven't decided yet, so like I said, I'll probably just take a look at them and see what's going on. But anyways, let me keep working on this thing, and I'll turn the camera back on after a while. Alright, so I got the intake off, which was a problem. That bolt, as well as those two there. Trying to get access to those two darn bolts, it was incredible. Finally, obviously, I got them. It was shaved down a socket, tried that. Shaved down a wrench, one or two came out, and then I put a metric on it and shaved that down, and anyways, finally got it, but man, it was not easy. Started looking at the lifters, got them out. They're not awful, but they're not great. They're all cupped. I mean, I've seen worse. It doesn't look like any have failed, but they probably would have failed not too far off in the future. And then the crack. This is actually a nylon gear, which I guess is factory GM. So kind of leads me to think maybe this motor is a standard bore 400, which if that's the case, that's pretty cool. I did some quick little research. I guess those nylon gears, they are said to kind of fail at about 50,000 miles. I guess that was intentional. That way, rather than a traditional metal gear, if it decides to get slack and jump a tooth, then everything just kind of collides. This way, I guess it just snaps off and hopefully has a better chance of surviving as far as piston rod clearance. So, trying to get that cam out. I don't know what the heck is going on. It's comes out a little bit and then it gets stuck. So, but I am pretty much out of time for today, so I'm going to go ahead and let this thing set, but I'll turn the camera back on when I get out here, or let you know how that cam came out or what's going on with it. But anyways, I'll turn this back on next time I'm out here. Thank you. Alright, so it is a good thing I stopped the other day. Obviously I must have been a little tired. The reason it was hung up as far as the camshaft goes is I hadn't taken the fuel pump off. So the fuel pump push rod was actually still in there. So once it got off the cam bearings, one of the lobes, I guess, was getting hung up. Is what I imagined. That because once I realized the fuel pump was on there and took that off, it slid right out. Amazingly, how that works. As you can see, I kind of cleaned it up a little bit, put some paint on it. Just going to go black, just because it is going to go on that GMC, and an orange motor in that GMC would just look a little strange. So, that being said, I'm still undecided. I've got an old chrome oil pan off another car engine from a ways back, and a timing cover. that are kind of cleaned up and ready to go. I'm almost wondering if I'll just throw those on there just to dress the motor a little bit, but more just kind of being lazy. I don't feel like cleaning up the gooey, gunky stuff right now. But we'll see. I may do it because, again, I don't really know. The weather's starting to change here. I don't really know that this thing is going to go in that GMC right away. Might be sitting here for a few months before it goes in. So if that's the case, I really don't have any excuse not to clean up the factory original tin work. But anyways, enough of me blabbing. So what I'm thinking today is, and I've never done this before, is swap out the cam bearings while it still has a crankshaft and pistons and everything in it. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it, but that's kind of my plan. So I'm going to go ahead and roll this thing upside down. I got my little hoist here. I'm going to set it down on the ground on a couple of blocks, hopefully on here, maybe on the heads, or a couple of blocks in the center. I'm not sure, just to keep these rocker arms off the ground, off the floor. And then take a look in there. We'll probably flip it first, take a look in there and see if it looks like I can possibly do it, and go from there. Anyways, I'm rambling on, so let me get this thing flipped over and we'll take a look at it. Alright, so I don't know what I was thinking, but there's no way I'm going to be able to get my hand in there on that expander to put the bearings on. So like I said, this thing, I did hear it run, didn't smoke other than a little tiny bit when I started it. I didn't hear any noises, knocking. I think it's going to be one of those things. I bought it as a used engine. It sounded decent. He just recommended changing the camshaft. So I kind of hate to do it, but at the same time, I don't want to tear this whole thing apart, because the deeper I get, probably the more I'm going to find. And I bought it as a used motor to put in that GMC and run it, and I think that's what I'm going to do. So I'm just going to go ahead and put the new oil pump on it, put the new camshaft in it, the timing chain, and put it back together and treat it as just what it was, a used motor that I bought, and we'll see how long it lasts. So, because like I said, it did sound good. Like I said, the cam bearings probably should be replaced. Probably if I dig deeper, I'll find more issues. So I'm just, like I said, I'm just going to go with my original thought. Used motor, put it in there. If I wouldn't have got this one, I would have got a different used motor, and that's exactly what I would have did. I would have just put it right in there. So again, because if I start messing with this, probably going to find I need mains and rods. At that point, I'm going to say, well, why don't I just re-ring it? And that's not what I got this motor for. So anyways, I'm babbling on here, but a little disappointed, but it is what it is. Like I said, I did buy it as a used motor just to plop in that GMC. So that's what I'm going to continue to do. So I'm going to go ahead and put that oil pump on, get that cam in there, and continue forward, and I'll turn this thing back on in just a while. Alright, so as you can tell, this cam has been laying on the shelf in the garage for quite a while. I'm not sure which one that is. Like I said, I know it's been there for quite a while. Let me go ahead and get this thing out of the box, and we'll check out the specs on it and start putting it in. Alright, so got the little thing here to use the Lunati additive, which I actually did have some still laying around. And got the lube that came with the cam. It looks like 465, 492 exhaust. I'm not going to degree it. Usually I degree them. It is a little bit bigger than I would have chose probably for this motor, since it's going to be using stock converter and all. But it is a 400 cubic inch, so probably be okay. And again, you know, like I said, bought it as a used motor, something I can just put in there. I don't want to use a ton of money to get it going. Parts I had laying around, like this cam, I've got the carb laying around, distributor, the guy gave me the exhaust manifolds, yada yada yada. So alright, I'm gonna go ahead and get this camshaft in there, and I'll turn this thing back on after a while. Thanks. Alright, well, we got that cam all lubed up with the assembly lube they sent us. I put a little bit of white grease on the back for the cam drive, the gear. Let me go ahead and finish sliding this thing in. I'll put the timing set on, and we'll start putting some lifters in. Alright, so here is that intake manifold I got. It's just a generic, I want to say I don't even remember the name to be honest. Um, I believe it was idle to 5,500 RPM, so hopefully it'll be alright. And again, that cam's probably a little bigger than I should have in that motor, but it's not the best combination, but hopefully it'll work out. So anyways, let me start putting this thing on, and I'll turn the camera back on in just a little bit. Alright, so got the intake manifold on. Like I said, I got it online. It was a cheap one. I don't even remember the name. It's some off name. But as you can see, the quality is, just because the holes are a little more off or larger than they really need to be, I guess to accommodate, you know, sliding it around, which kind of makes me think that it's probably not machined, manufactured to really close tolerances, but hopefully, like I said, it'll work. I'm not trying to make a ton of power with this motor. It's just something I want to put in that truck just to get it to run. So hopefully it should work out okay. But other than that, so far it looks good. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and put that distributor in now, and then go from there. So I'll turn this thing back on in just a little bit. Alright, so I got the distributor in. This is an old distributor I had laying around. I did notice that I had the module unplugged in there, so I don't recall if I took the module out for some reason. I thought it was bad. I don't know. So I'm going to either get it tested at the local parts store. I don't know if they can still do that. Otherwise, I'll just get a new one, put a new one in there. But it's in there. It's set up to fire on number 1, so we should be good there. I'm going to go ahead, and I got the oil pan cleaned up already, but I'm going to go ahead and clean up the timing cover, put a new seal in it, and then I'll start putting that stuff back together, get the valve covers cleaned up, put those on there. I do have some wires as well, get those on, clean up the engine mounts, put those on, the starter, get the flywheel back on it, all that good stuff. But anyways, for right now, I'm going to call it a day, but when I get back out here again, I will turn this thing on. Thanks. Alright, well, I'm out here to work on the little 400 small block again. Got my timing cover cleaned up. Not too concerned with making everything beautiful. I just want it to look decent, since, you know, it's just a used motor that's going to go in there. Got a few more parts over here. Let me turn this thing back on. I'll show you. Alright, so I cleaned up the oil pan a little bit, put some black paint on it. It's a little beat up, but again, you know, just going to put that back on there. And then we got these other parts over here. Alright, so we got an engine mount, a valve cover, a water pump, another valve cover, another engine mount, and our harmonic balancer. I did put a sleeve on it because it was kind of grooved, so I'm going to start putting these parts on, and as I get it coming together, I'll turn this thing back on. Thanks. Alright, got the timing cover on, got the harmonic balancer on. I'm going to go ahead and put the valve covers. I haven't decided if I'm going to put the water pump until I put the motor in, or do it now. I'm not sure, but I'm going to do the valve covers now, and then I'll turn it over and I'll do the oil pan and engine mounts, and I'll turn this thing back on and show you how it came out. Alright, so as you can see, I put the water pump on, and I got the one exhaust manifold on. I'm missing a couple of gaskets for the other side, so I'm going to hold off for now, and it's probably going to do it for right now. I'm going to call it a day. I'll come back out here another day. I'll do the oil pan, hopefully have the gasket for the other manifold, get that on, and I'll pick up a gasket for the fuel pump, and that should take care of it for now. So, alright, I'll see you guys out here next time. Alright, so I'm back out here, obviously. I'm going to go ahead and get that oil pan on, probably put a oil filter on it, and then I'm thinking if I can get to the flywheel or the flex plate, I'm even going to put the flex plate on. So let me see how this all works out. I'll turn it back on in just a bit. Alright, so I got the oil pan on, but I forgot to turn the camera on until I already had it flipped back over. So it's on there. As you can see, I got the engine mount on, got an oil filter back there, just threw the plug wires on just for the heck of it. The other mount is on, the exhaust manifold, of course. Still got to get the pulleys on. I've got the plate for the fuel pump and the push rod right there, so when I get a fuel pump, I'll put that stuff in, and then get a couple gaskets for the exhaust manifold. I have to pull the wires back off, and get that in there, and that'll basically be it. Then it'll be coming up with the torque converter for this thing. Still got to get the fuel situation figured out. I'm going to run some fuel lines on that truck since I'm going from the throttle body injection to carbureted. I want to run them a different way, get the fuel pump out of the tank, blah blah blah, all that good stuff. So, but anyways, at least the motor will basically be sitting here waiting, ready to go. So thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.